First, we're going to prepare our outer bag fabric. I chose this beautiful blue quilting cotton, and I'm cutting a 5-inch strip. Now I'm doubling my fabric so that I can get 2 equal pieces. I am cutting them to 7 inches in height so that I get 2 pieces of 7 by 5. Et voila, here they are, 2 pieces of 5 by 7 inches. Now we're just going to finish the edges to make sure they don't fray. There's 3 options I've prepared for you here. One is just doing a simple zigzag stitch with your sewing machine, or a serged edge with your serger, or you can just use some pinking shears to make sure the edge does not fray. You can use either of these methods. Now we're going to mark the location of our drawstring openings for the tunnel. That's a very important step. We're going to mark 2 inches down from the top edge and 2 3/4 inches down from the top edge. And we'll do that on both sides, on the front and the back panel of our bag. These are my 2 fabrics for the bunny ears. For the front and back, I need a 5-inch square of each of the 2 fabrics. I just couldn't resist this cute mini gingham, and I had to combine it with another pink fabric. Now it's time to draw some bunny ears. We've created this template that's available on our website that you can download and print at home. But of course, you can also draw your own in whatever shape you want your bunny ears to be. The width of each ear is about 2 inches, and we're tracing them to the wrong side of one of our fabrics, leaving just enough space so we can cut around them later on. This is my tracing on the wrong side of the fabric. Now we can put the other square right sides together with this one, and we're ready to sew. I'm using the Madeira Aerofill thread for my project. Now I just gotta follow that line that I marked on my fabric. I'm using a straight stitch in a 2.5 stitch length. With my pinking shears, I'm now carefully cutting in between and around each of the ears to separate them. And you know what comes after this step? We gotta turn each of these cuties inside out so we can see the full effect of our bunny ears. I'm able to start off just turning with my hands, but at the end it gets a little bit tricky, so I'm using my tweezers to shape out the edges. You can also use an edge shaping tool or a chopstick for this step. I want the edges to be nice and crisp, so I'll give these a quick little magic press. Here they are, nice and flat. Now we're ready to put all the pieces together. This is my front and back piece of my little bag. And in this step, we are sewing the bottom seam of the bag with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And because we all like our seams nice and tidy, we're definitely going to press this one open. You can either use your trusted iron if it's still turned on, or in my case, I'm just using my little rolly tool. It's just a wooden roller that also flattens the seam and totally does the job. And I'm going another extra step further, and I'm actually going to roll it or press it all the way up because I think it does look really cute. You don't have to if you don't want it that way. You can press your seams to whichever side you prefer. Time to bring back the bunny ears. Attaching them is so much easier when the side seams are still open. We're going to place them right next to each other, centered at the top edge of one of your bag panels. I'm basting them in place with a straight stitch about 3 millimeters from the top edge. They'll safely stay in place for the rest of the project, and we can already see how cute they are. Time to close the side seams. We're placing the front and back panels right sides together, and we are sewing from the bottom to our first marking, and then from the second marking to the top. It's important to leave the space between the markings completely unsewn. This step is the preparation for the drawstring tunnel. We're going to measure 1.5 inches from the top edge, and that is how far we will fold down the cusp of our bag. Make sure to position all these things correctly, pull out these bunny ears, and yep, 1.5. Let's put in some pins so that it stays nicely in place while we're going to sew 2 lines to create our tunnel. Here comes the tricky part. Because of the small size of this bag, I can't use the free arm sewing capability of my machine, so I'm essentially just turning it around the other way. With this method, you just have to be careful to reposition your fabric often to make sure it does not get stuck on any parts of your foot. The first seam you're going to sew is positioned about 3/8 of an inch from the top edge of the bag, which should line up with the top edge of your opening for the drawstring tunnel. You can also always visually inspect to make sure you're hitting that spot. Then you're doing the same for the bottom edge of your drawstring tunnel. And I know it gets a little bit blurry here in my video. I promise there's nothing secret that I'm doing. I'm really just doing the same thing. It was just my camera adjustment. This seam should now be a 3/4 of an inch down from my original line, even though the measurement really doesn't matter quite as much as you hitting that spot of the edge of your drawstring opening. That's really the most important part to look out for. And now the moment of truth. We get to turn it inside out, push out those corners, and get those bunny ears out. There's the first, there's the second, and oh my goodness, they are absolutely adorable. For the finishing touch, you now get to put in a drawstring. You can use cute ribbons, twill tape, bias tape, so many options. I used this pink bias tape and I just sewed it shut with a straight stitch. It's just gonna match my bunny ears. And here's another one of my favorite tools that I'm using, my loop turner, to hook my drawstring on and just pull it through all of those little tunnels. And now we're done, and they're ready to be filled with some goodies. Thank you so much for watching my latest tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave me a comment below and subscribe to the Mimifabrics channel for more inspiration and future projects.